Hi, welcome to Africa in Perspective. My name is Nelda and I make videos about Africa from Mondays to Fridays. Today we're going to be talking about gender-based violence in Africa. So the simplest definition of gender-based violence is abuse or harm directed towards somebody purely because of their gender. Africa is not shockingly the leading continent in gender-based violence. So we're going to be covering everything. We're going to look at the top 10 countries in the continent in terms of gender-based violence. Are you wondering if your home country is one of them if you're African? Stick along for the video and don't forget to subscribe. Did you know that 1 in 3 African women have experienced physical or sexual violence in their lifetime? Did you know that every 3 hours a woman dies in South Africa because of gender-based violence? Did you also know that 98% of women in Somalia have experienced female genital mutilation? Their clitoris were just snapped because men don't want women to feel any sort of pleasure. Did you know that 30% of women aged between 20 and 24 in sub-Saharan Africa were married before the age of 15? Just let me contextualize this for you. Girls who are 20 years old in 2025, these are kids born in 2005. They were married before they turned 15. Did you know that in the DRC, 1,100 women are raped daily in conflict zones? Did you know that 1.5 million women living with HIV/AIDS in Africa got HIV because of rape? And to put the cherry on top of all of that, along with all the other statistics we're going to be talking about in this video, only 29 out of the 54 African countries have comprehensive anti-gender-based violence laws in place. And those are the ones that have it in place. We're not even going to talk about enforcement. Because if we're going to talk about enforcement, how is it that 10,000 women were raped just in the first quarter of 2022, January, February, March? 10,000 women were raped in South Africa alone. And the thing about these statistics that just baffles me is the fact that these are the people who reported these cases, because a lot of women, not just in Africa, but a lot of women generally speaking, are afraid of going to the police station to report some sort of violence that happened to them, because typically the police themselves are typically men in a majority of countries. And when you go report it, sometimes I know this is from not from first-hand experience, from second-hand experience, from people around me who have been like, oh yeah, this happened to me and I wanted to report it to the police. But you walk into the police station, they're like, well, what are we going to do about it? Like, did you die? You didn't die. Did you, like, what else happened to you? Do you have any injuries? Are they things that we can't heal? Then just go back home. It's going to be too complicated to go through to the law. It's going to be too complicated to try and prove that you were raped. So these are real people's lives that have been changed. Every 3 hours, a woman dies in South Africa. Is that not a shocking statistic to people? And how is it that we have leaders in the African continent who are just fancily sitting on their cushy little seats, and they're not even taking into account that our women in our continent, these are the people who are pushing out babies in the continent. Africa has the youngest population in the world. Our women have high fertility rates. Like Tanzania has, I think, a fertility rate of 3.5 kids per woman. And our women are being ignored because the majority of the victims who suffer gender-based violence are women. That's just a statistic. We can't even change that. It's just a statistic. Wow, that's a weird word to say, but it is. So I'm going to be shaming top 10 countries. I have my list here with me. So I'm going to be shaming 10 countries that lead in gender-based violence in Africa. So, and I just know South Africa is going to be that. I can sense it. I just know. I just know it's going to be South Africa. And I don't want to feel like I'm picking on South Africa, guys, because didn't I say it was going to be South Africa? Didn't I say? I mean, I prepared for this video, but I just knew it was going to be South Africa. So South Africa has so many nicknames. They're good at amapiano, of course. They have all these nice things. They have lots of wildlife. Not more than Tanzania, but anyways, who am I to say? But South Africa's one of its other nicknames is the rape capital of the world. The rape capital of the world. So, like I said, 10,000, and that's a rough estimate. And these are the women who had the confidence to come forward and say, "Hey, this happened to me." So, and that was just in the first quarter of 2022, which means if that stayed consistently, roughly 40,000 women were raped in South Africa in 2022, and that was 2022. do men just hate women? Like, this is something that I've generally considered, because I'm like, do they just hate us? Because how do you justify this case? And so South Africa is the first one. So the top 10 African countries that lead in gender-based violence. The first one is South Africa. The second one is the DRC, so the Democratic Republic of Congo. The third is Liberia. The fourth is Sierra Leone. The fifth is South Sudan. And then the sixth is Nigeria. The seventh is Uganda. The eighth is Zambia. And then Mali is number 9 and Gambia is number 10. The sigh of relief I took when Tanzania wasn't on this list, only God knows. Because this is just there are so many statistics on my notes here that I don't even know where to read. I don't even know where to begin, because this is just very embarrassing that as a continent we're still allowing this to happen. So why is it that this is happening in Africa? Why is it that Africa is the leading continent in terms of gender-based violence? The first thing is obviously the patriarchal structure of a lot of African societies. And my dad told me this when I not when I was a little kid, but a few years ago, my dad and I were having a conversation. And he was like, when I was like a young boy and I was looking to get married and have children, I always wanted boys. I just wanted boys. And God was like, count one, guilty. the first kids he had were girls. And he was like, eventually it ended up being like, having a girl is such a privilege, such an honor to be able to watch a young woman grow. He still has boy children as well. But he was just being candid with me and saying, in a lot of African societies, men just want to have boys. They just want to have boys. There's this thing like being a man is better than being a woman, and having a boy child is better than having a girl child. And I think there is also that just cultural mindset that is embedded in particularly African men, that women are less than, and it's translating to the violence that we are seeing in our women today. For example, FGM, so female genital mutilation, which basically what they do with FGM is basically they just chop off a woman's clitoris, which is an area in the woman's reproductive system that is meant for pleasure. Basically, it doesn't have any biological function, just pleasure. And I don't even know the origins of this practice. If you want me to do a video about it, just let me know. I'll do the research for you guys, and I'll make a nice cute little video. But the main reason for FGM, as far as I'm concerned, is purely because they didn't want women to be able to experience sexual pleasure. And they said that, oh, a woman having her sexuality is dangerous because she's going to be like, in Swahili, it's such a weird word, but in Swahili we even have a word for it, like a woman who's like a little bit too open with her sexuality. And for me, it's just like, so 98% of women in Somalia experiencing FGM, they haven't done anything. Do you know how many people die during FGM because of overbleeding? Do you know how many people get infectious diseases because of FGM? Because the tools that they're using, they can transmit diseases because they're not washing them properly. They're using the same razors. They're just cutting off people's skins. That transmits diseases like HIV. And at the same time, do you know how many women die during childbirth because of the effects of FGM? Lots. And this is just one practice. We haven't even gone to talk about the statistics about girls being married before the age of 15. When I was 15 years old, I mean, I knew I was a girl, but I was going to say I didn't even know I was a girl. But like, the last thing on my mind was sleeping with somebody. I just wanted to study. And so the fact that these girls are being married off, typically, I don't know any girl who's under the age of 15 who's like, oh my God, I want to be married right now. I'm ready to be a mom right now. You're putting these girls in these positions that they virtually can't do anything with their lives because they're being forced to become moms when they're not ready. And that is embarrassing for us as a continent. And these systems were put in place by men. And aren't men supposed to be the protectors? If you're meant to be the protectors, why exactly is it that you've let a society where your women don't feel safe, or how have you let the society come to thrive? And now we're talking about, oh, there's a male loneliness epidemic. Duh. What do you expect? You wanted all the power for yourself because you were like, oh, this is a patriarchal world, it's a man's world. Okay, let it be a man's world. Then why are you lonely in it if it's a man's world? So can we just stop ignoring the fact that our women, particularly in Africa, our women are living very crappy lives. They're highly dependent on their men because our societies have been structured in a way that women don't have the power to be able to go out there and get something for themselves. They're left relying on their men. So when their men are beating them up, when their husbands are committing heinous crimes towards them, they have nowhere to go because that is just the way the society is structured. And so that's just one part of the argument. It's just the fact that the societies in Africa are very patriarchal. Women have nowhere to go to be able to defend themselves, to be able to run away from. I mean, there are things that Africa is doing, and multiple African countries are doing really well, coming up with helplines and all of that. But how is that really helpful? How is that really helpful when we still have 10,000 women being raped? Is that and that is one country, and that is within a span of 3 months, and that is the women who reported it. So that is just one part of the conversation. Because on the other hand as well, there is a lot of political inaction, and that I think is where I'm mostly coming in. At least not that I have any political power, but I mean in the sense that there's a lot of political inaction. It seems that every day we're talking about, oh, let's make Africa improve, let's develop Africa, and we're talking about, oh, let's have skyscrapers. Because every time I see people talk about, oh, Africa is always talked about as a poor continent, and then people do these collages on TikTok with Africa having skyscrapers and nice buildings, and I'm like, that is not development. Real development is when people in a society can go to bed in peace, is when women can walk outside in peace and know that nothing is going to happen to them to harm them. That is real development. And Africa cannot brag about development when our women and our girls are still being treated like crap. When gender-based violence is just the norm for the day. 51% of women in Africa who face gender-based violence end up with injuries, serious injuries. And those are the ones that were able to get off safely. Most of them, some of them die. Some of them become crippled. Some of them lose everything virtually. And we're here talking about, oh, Africa is developing. Oh, this country's currency is doing great. We do not care about the currency doing great. I do not care personally about some country's currency. I was on Instagram right now. I'm just ranting. I understand. But I was on Instagram right now and they were talking about, oh, Tanzania's currency is doing so great. It's the strongest growing currency. And I was like, no, first of all, no, it's not. And second of all, that is not a flex. That is not a flex when women in Tanzania still are getting beaten up by their husbands and the government is not doing anything about it. That is not a flex. A real flex would be our women feel safe. Like, I went to school in the UAE for 4 years and then worked in Dubai for a year. I could walk in Dubai at 2 a.m. and nobody would touch me. Nobody. Nobody. Because that is a real flex. That is a real flex. Not a Tanzanian woman walking in broad daylight and then men kidnap them. That is not a flex. So I realized I went off script, but I do not care. I'm just so angry because when I was looking at it, and this are some of the statistics, by the way, there are so many things that just shocked me. 31% of girls in East and Southern Africa are married before the age of 18. That is just an overall case. And then I was looking at something else. Let me see. Oh my God. I don't even know what to share because this is so disgusting. 30% of women aged 15 to 49 in Nigeria, 30% of them have experienced sexual violence. And at this point, I'm just like, is there any woman in this world who has never experienced sexual or physical violence? Is there? Like, is there even one? Like, I would just want to see one. Because it's starting to feel like women who have never experienced sexual violence or physical violence are unicorns. So what exactly is going on in this world? So if African leaders, you better step up. I don't know if there's any African leader watching this, but shame on you if these statistics are true in your country. There's so many. If you want me to do another video, just let me know. But this is just embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing as a continent. Our continent is never going to develop until our women have developed. We're losing so much. We're losing so much as a continent because our women are not empowered. And until our women are empowered, we're not going anywhere. So that is the entire video for the day. And I hope somebody agrees with me on this rant. So thank you so much for watching. And it's a very, very angry video. I realize that now that I'm I'm taking a breath. But just that's the video. That's the entire video. I hope I had something else to say, but that's virtually it. So thank you so much for watching, and let me know any other videos or any other topics you want to cover or to rant about. Thank you. Bye.